All right, today we're diving into the film The Girlfriend and its really powerful take on personal evolution. It's a story that explores those subtle and sometimes not so subtle ways we can kind of lose ourselves in a relationship and the incredible strength it takes to find our way back. So look at this. This is the core transformation we're talking about. On one side, we have a character who starts out timid, almost like a background player in her own life. And by the end, she's courageous, empowered, the hero of her own story. So what on earth happens in between? What could possibly cause a shift that dramatic? Well, every transformation has a starting point, right? And for our main character, it all begins in a place that feels deceptively simple, a classic campus romance. Let me introduce you to Booma. When we first meet her, she's really quiet, introverted, and you can just feel her insecurity. She's not your typical hero, which honestly is what makes her journey so incredibly powerful. The film kind of sets you up. It lays out all these familiar pieces: a campus love story, a messy love triangle, and of course, a confident rival. It really lulls you into thinking you know exactly where this is all going. But just beneath this lighthearted surface, something much, much darker is starting to take shape. And here it is. This is where the story just takes a sharp turn. We're not in a simple romance anymore. We're diving into something way more complex, exploring how a relationship's charming surface can hide a pretty dark reality. And a catalyst for all of this? Vikram. He's so charismatic, the kind of guy who just draws you in. But that charm, it's just a mask for a deeply controlling personality. It's like a web of manipulation that Booma slowly but surely gets caught in. And this is a really key point. The film is saying something that goes way beyond a simple bad boyfriend story. It's a look at what's called domestic oppression, a systematic pattern of behavior that's literally designed to chip away at someone's independence and their sense of self-worth. But here's the thing. This is not a story about being a victim. Not at all. It's a story about resilience. It's about that moment Booma decides to fight back, to start that incredibly difficult process of taking back her own life and her own voice. So how does a transformation like this even happen? Well, it's not a solo journey. She gets support from a mentor, she gets encouragement from her friends, but the real shift, the big one, happens when she starts to tap into a strength she never even knew she had. You can almost break down her path to freedom into 4 clear steps. First, she has to recognize the manipulation for what it is. Then, she starts building a support system around her. From there, she begins to find and assert her own voice. And finally, she finds the courage she needs to leave. And all of this leads us to the film's powerful conclusion, a courageous transformation that's really rooted in one fundamental choice: the choice to put her own dignity and self-worth above everything else. One critic absolutely nailed it, calling the film a powerful testament to self-empowerment. And honestly, it's hard to think of a better way to describe a story that is, at its heart, about the radical act of taking back control of your own narrative. So we come full circle, right back to that transformation we saw at the beginning. The film just masterfully shows us how a vulnerable young woman becomes this courageous person in her own right, reclaiming the very story that was almost stolen from her. And that really brings us to the final question, doesn't it? Because while Booma's story is her own, the theme is universal. It kind of forces us all to ask ourselves, when we're faced with pressures that try to define us, what does it really take to reclaim our own story?